Mind you, I have a lot to say about this game in general. I wanted to really like the game, which is why I put so much love and editing into this video, and one reason I streamed from my mobile phone over at my Twitch channel just to show off how well it could perform. The game has a lot of good potential even with heavy autoplay elements. If just 2 to 3 major balancing fixes and anti-pay-to-win changes were made, AxE would be a really good mobile MMO Lite. But since that's not the case, I ended up uninstalling at the end of this review. To start, I have 2 comparison shots to show you the difference here with the 4x4 arena mode, one fair and the other completely unfair. The matchmaking system seems to be almost random, but doesn't prevent pre-mades from fighting against pugs, and there is no restriction on level balance. Forcing skill manual, which supposedly moves your character around automatically to the nearest hostile target, although here it seems like it tended to prioritize the buff tower obelisks, is actually very good. At least it prevents full autoplay in PvP. That being said, if someone outclasses you in gear like in the unfair match on screen, especially the pay-to-win gear, they can one-shot you even with white attacks, while even your biggest baddest skill can't leave a dent. I did actually have fun with the top PvP here. I enjoyed this combat even though one of the teammates on the opposing side had a little bit of pay-to-win-ish gear because he was so low level it ended up making him match our gear, and if I had just let it auto-play out completely, or if all of my teammates had just let it auto-play out completely, we might have actually lost. I've been in a couple of matches that were that way, where one of our teammates just obviously went into autoplay mode and gave up, and our lead quickly fell down into dismal loss. So there's definitely that potential for PvP to be really good and fair, but as it stands, it's simply not. Now, you can farm the currency to be able to get the extra reses. For example, in the middle of combat, there were a few times where I would actually use my reses that I had earned through normal play to get a revenge kill on somebody. But otherwise, it seems like it really wants you to use the premium currency, and I think any use of premium currency just makes PvP totally unfair. You shouldn't be allowed to use any sort of premium currency inside of a match. The 1v1, same difference. There's fun matches that are pretty even. There's some times where I've managed a match where I can roll around with manual roll and stay alive for a solid couple minutes and end up taking out a person with strategy. And then there's other times where a dude 3-shots me because he's so massively overpowered with pay-to-win gear. So how does Nexon fix PvP? I have 2 proposed solutions. Of course, I know they won't, but wishful thinking. First, PvP needs to be in leveled brackets, like 31 to 35, 36 to 40, etc. And pay-to-win players, if not completely removed altogether, should be placed within their own monetary brackets. So, for example, free-to-play players don't match with anyone who's spent more than $10 on the game, and players in the thousands of dollars bracket can only play against each other. Alternatively, and much easier, make stats a set value for PvP matches, like pretty much every other game. Killed so many. I'm number 1! Oh, lols. That's interesting. Well, I got to the number 1 spot in this war by using all of my res scrolls that I've earned over the entirety of playing this game for 2 weeks.
And what was it?
Diddly squat. But it was fun. Rank calculation method. Eliminations plus assists plus deaths divided by 2. So my KDA was 1632.77. I died the most out of my team. By far.
Here. Jesus balls. You had 10 deaths on the last person.
Yeah. And you did less damage.
I did, in fact. I was just on the point the most because I was kept rezzing and blowing everything the fuck up. I got the most assists though. Well, second most to geometry. PvE rating is interesting to say the least, and I am not talking about the world bosses, which is a whole other bag of annoying. Most raids automatically pit you and 3 other players in a fight against an extremely hard boss that will almost assuredly one-shot you if you don't avoid the tells. That being said, the tells are definitely broken and weirdly single-player, as you'll see in this fight. Sometimes the tell is too big and you can actually stand in it a little and be okay. Other times, more often than not, the tell is too small and you'll still get hit, even if you're sure you dodged it. Some bosses even show a linear tell and then redirect their aim to wherever you happen to be standing anyways, regardless of where their tell was. You can avoid these by never stopping moving, but the downside then is that you'll probably never be attacking the boss, so, you know, face tank it. And then there's the single player aspect, because the tells you see seem to only be for you. As you can see on this boss, when he uses his big nova with only 1 slim safe area, the other players in my party also stood still in their respective locations, only to not get hit, which clearly means they each had their own attack coming at them? The other major downside to raids is that even in good gear, if you aren't paid to win, you probably aren't going to do much damage. Like, I did 6% in this fight overall. Raids are also once a day, or 3 times for premium currency, either bought or gotten through dailies. Overall, raiding is still fun. I enjoy it, even though I know that I'm technically a scrub and the pay-to-wins are doing all of the work. In fact, in a clip that I'm not showing here, this very same boss, on one of my repeat runs, died instantly because one of the pay-to-wins one-shot it from 5 health bars to 0 after the rest of us died. I think he was giving us a sort of, well, I'll let you try, and then when you're all dead, then I'll finish it. Asshole. Why even do raids then? Because you need to get enhancement material, and the enhancement material daily quest is super broken, so you'll never actually get any enhancement material out of it. So what you want to do is do these raids every day and get a nice little boost of 20 enhancement material that is different based on what day you do it, because, you know, dailies. So there's a few bosses, and each one corresponds to what kind of essence it drops. The fire one drops the red essence. The ice one drops the blue essence. It all makes a lot of sense. So do your raids every day, as much as possible. Trust me, you're gonna need a lot of essence. And what about the rest of PvE? What about all these dailies? What about that little start thing that said soft cap? Why is there a soft cap? What is the soft cap? The soft cap is when you get to level 35, and everything gets much, much slower whilst getting exponentially harder. So you'll start gaining experience extremely slowly. And enemies will be much stronger all of a sudden. They're going to start having skulls over their heads at a much faster rate than you would expect. They're going to start punching a lot harder. You're going to have to not do autoplay on a lot of stuff. You're going to have to stare at your phone more. You're going to have to, at the very least, manually use potions, and in dungeons, manually run around in circles a lot so that you can have the time to actually use your potions. And you're going to quickly run out of potions, so you're going to have to buy more, which fortunately you can do with gold. You can buy a few hundred with like 100k. It's pretty easy. But again, you're gonna level really slowly, and it's gonna be really tedious. And this is one thing that I know drove a lot of people away. Because the soft cap is basically, hey, you've been playing for free, give us money. If you want to progress, if you want to be on even remotely the same level as people, you're gonna need to give us money. Or be like Vazirati and grind 4 weeks on end, just so that you can get a few levels. I literally didn't get to level 40, and it took me 2 weeks of daily grinding. That shouldn't happen. So for everything this game has, the real downside is the soft cap. I could stand to just do the dailies and get levels and grind gear, and that would be fine. I can stand all the glitches and bugs, and maybe even the fact that a lot of PvP is pay to win. I could stand the fact that raids are weirdly single player, or the fact that nobody's really doing the higher tier versions of them. I could stand the fact that guilds are sort of not guildy. It's not super social, everyone's doing their own thing because everyone has just the single player dailies to do, and there's not really any guild dailies. There's not a lot of guild content, and leveling up your guild is everyone check in and do a daily to check in and donate a lot of gold and currency earned through playing the guild. Now, I never actually got to the Guild Wars because that's beyond the soft cap. So all in all, the soft cap is what drove me away from the game more than anything else. I really don't like that. I think that level scaling should be linear. It should follow one formula for every level. If the amount of experience needed is 2x for the last level and 2x for the level before that one, then the next level should be 2x, and the next level after that should be 2x. It shouldn't immediately scale up when you go from 34 to 35 and have it be 2x, and then you want to get from 35 to 36 and have it be like 10x. That's simply not fair. I don't want to have to give money to get through all of these skull mobs. It's complete and utter bullshit. The changes I proposed in PvP can easily be fixed. This, not so much. Because this is their big monetization thing. You'll get frustrated to the point that you'll give them money. That's why we don't really trust this publisher, because they have a tendency to do that. And I wish they didn't, and I have played Nexon games that are in fact good, and that I do in fact like. There's Nexon games that I still play, that I absolutely support their monetization schemes. This isn't one of them, and the really bad thing about this one is this is a mobile game. You shouldn't be that heavily monetizing something that is already an expense for people. It doesn't make sense to have to charge people to enjoy the game. If you want people to play a mobile game, make it free to play in every aspect. Unless you are adding cosmetics, which would be cool. But those cosmetics shouldn't be giving you stats like they are in AxE. There's so much loot in the game, it gets really kind of annoying, I think. I constantly have to go through, in even a 1-hour play session, all of this gear that I get and drop it into upgrades, etc. The info panels just on the base gear doesn't really show you anything other than its rarity. So in the small menu like here, you can't see what the item is named. So if you're trying to complete, say, a shadow armor set, even though you don't actually have to get the shadow armor to get the set bonuses, which is a nice advantage, but if you want to satisfy your OCD, then you're just gonna have to click through them each manually in one menu over and over again. Upgrading, at least for the equipment, you can select to develop multiple items at once, but for other items it's a bit more obnoxious, and in a day you'll get many loot boxes through your dailies. So for like these runes, you're going to have to click every single one individually if you want to enhance or develop it. And then you just need to upgrade them by combining them with one of the same tier, which is also different from the other equipment. And it gets incredibly tedious, and I just couldn't really stand it. There's also, you have to click these daily achievements every single time that you do them. Events in the game are also really kind of disappointing. They don't offer anything new for the most part. They're just another excuse to do the dailies that you're already doing. They don't seem to even offer any new quests. It's just, hey, go out and do the things you've already done thousands upon thousands of times. It's not an event. As far as I'm concerned, you might get some special rewards, but other than that, it's just not satisfying at all. For the record, this is exactly how pay-to-win it is. Every tier up is exponentially better than the next, and it seems like you can buy as much as you want. Costumes give extra stats, everything gives stats. You can buy literally everything in the game, seemingly endlessly, and from these percents you can see that at least for some of the items, only the super rich are going to be able to actually get them with those probabilities. It's really unfortunate that games like this have these sort of probability gamble boxes instead of, say, even for pay to win, just giving the exact item for one set price instead of gambling.